she teased. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, it's just my office buddy," referring to a coworker. I replied that professionalism mattered. What she hadn't expected was me later becoming friends with her so-called office buddy's real wife during the company barbecue. The conversations we had set off a chain reaction that ended in 2 breakups. The phrase office buddy is one of those harmless-sounding corporate buzzwords, isn't it? Supposedly it's cute, someone you share deadlines and inside jokes with, not a lease and a life. It's meant to be playful. But jokes only work when everyone's in on them. For the last year of our relationship, I wasn't in on it. My girlfriend, Lauren, and her office buddy, a man named Ethan, were practically joined at the hip. Ethan seemed to star in every story she told from her days at the marketing firm. Ethan and I totally crushed the pitch today. You won't believe what Ethan said in the meeting. Ethan brought me my favorite latte this morning. He just knows my coffee order. He wasn't just a colleague, he had become a leading character in her life story, while my own role felt like it was slipping from supporting cast to background extra. At first, I tried to be the easygoing boyfriend. I'm a software engineer, my world runs on logic, syntax, and problems with clear solutions. I understand teamwork. I understand friendship. But this felt like something else. It was the small things. The way her phone lit up at 10 p.m. with a message from him, and she'd smile in that way she used to smile at me. The way she'd reference a private joke, then stop and say, "Never mind, you had to be there." I was increasingly not there. The warning signs weren't just showing up, they were throwing a parade. For my birthday, Lauren gave me a sensible, practical sweater. It was thoughtful, sure. Ethan, I later learned, gave her a rare first edition copy of her favorite book, something she'd mentioned in passing months earlier. He remembered. I, apparently, was now the guy who got the safe, boring gifts. The difference wasn't lost on me, so I decided to address it. I chose my moment carefully. One evening, as we sat on the couch, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I simply asked. "Hey, can we talk about Ethan? You two seem really close." "Sometimes, maybe too close." Her reaction was instant. Her shoulders stiffened, her smile flattened into a tired expression. It was the look a teacher gives a slow student. "This again?" "Really?" she sighed. "He's just my friend. My office buddy. It's a joke." "I get that," I said, keeping my tone even. "But the constant late-night texts, the way you tell him more about your day than you tell me, it feels like it's crossing a line." And then came the line that would name this whole chapter of my life. She laughed, a short, sharp, joyless sound, and said, "Don't be ridiculous. He's just my office buddy." The real problem, she insisted, was my insecurity. "It's not attractive," she added. There it was, the perfect escape hatch. My valid concerns weren't valid, they were a personal flaw. My gut reaction wasn't a response to her actions, it was a defect in me. Manipulative brilliance, really. That's when something in my logical, code-driven mind clicked. I looked at her, the woman I loved, while she dismissed my feelings and turned my own thoughts against me. The hurt was there, but a cold clarity was taking over. She had named the problem, my insecurity. Fine. If this was a bug, I'd fix it. "You're right," I said, my voice flat. "Professionalism is important." She blinked, clearly surprised at my sudden agreement. She'd expected a fight, some drama. My calm threw her off script. "Exactly," she said, but less certain now. "It's all just professional," I agreed. And in that moment, I understood something. Debating with someone who refuses to accept your premise is like debugging code that doesn't exist. From then on, I stopped arguing. I stopped complaining. I just observed. I became a data analyst in my own relationship. The company barbecue was the perfect observation ground. A yearly, family-friendly event in a sprawling park. Lauren insisted I come. "It'll be good for you," she'd said. You can see how normal everything is. It'll help with your. Translation, she wanted to parade me around as proof that everything between her and Ethan was perfectly innocent. I'd be the smiling, secure boyfriend. I agreed to attend, but for my own reasons. I wanted to see them together in their natural habitat. The barbecue was just as dreadful as I'd imagined: lukewarm food, forced small talk, a cringy volleyball game where middle-aged executives relived their glory days. I watched Lauren and Ethan, and it was exactly what I'd expected. Not one big betrayal, just countless tiny ones. The hand on her lower back as he guided her through a crowd. The quick glances that spoke whole conversations. The laugh she gave him, the kind I hadn't heard from her in months. They moved with a natural, well-practiced closeness. They were the team. I was the audience. That familiar sting of insecurity rose up, but this time I knew it wasn't insecurity. It was certainty. I walked over to the drinks pavilion. As I poured lemonade, the woman next to me sighed. "If I hear synergistic branding one more time, I'm going to lose it," she muttered. I chuckled. "Tell me about it. My brain's turning to mush." She smiled, tired but genuine. She looked my age, with the same worn-out expression I realized I was wearing. "You're a +1 too?" she asked. "That obvious?" I said. "It's the look," she replied. Boredom mixed with existential dread. "I'm Julia, by the way. My husband's Ethan." For a moment, my heart skipped. Ethan. Her husband was Ethan. I'd seen her photo once, in a small frame on Ethan's desk during a video call Lauren had taken at home. This was her, the real wife of the office buddy. The other person nodded on. The joke. "I'm Ryan," I said, shaking her hand. "Lauren's my girlfriend." Recognition flickered in her eyes. "Oh, Lauren, Ethan's always saying she's the only one who gets it. Calls them the dream team." "That's them," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "Always working late on those big projects together." I was fishing. It was a gamble, just a single, subtle question to test my hunch. Her answer was the confirmation I didn't expect to land so quickly. She frowned. "Late hours? That's odd. He's been saying he leaves the office at 5 sharp every day to hit the gym before coming home. Said things at work have been dead slow lately." And there it was, the first undeniable contradiction. The first real crack in the version of events I'd been fed. Our eyes met, and without saying a word, we understood. We were living in different houses built on the same foundation of lies, told by the same two people. "The gym," I said, letting out a slow breath. "Makes sense, he's definitely fit." We stood there in a bubble of awkward quiet, the cheerful picnic chatter fading in the background. We both knew exactly what this was. Two satellites discovering they'd been orbiting the same dishonest planet. "Well," Julia said, forcing a bright smile that didn't touch her eyes, "it was really nice meeting you, Ryan." "You too," I said. "Actually, Lauren and I have been meaning to invite you and Ethan over for dinner. Maybe we can swap numbers?" Perfectly casual. Perfectly normal. And a complete lie, just a cover to exchange contact details without anyone suspecting. She gave me hers, I gave her mine, and we drifted back into our roles as the smiling, supportive partners. But something had shifted. I wasn't just observing anymore, I had an ally. I waited 2 days, not wanting to seem overeager, before I texted her, "Hey, Julia, Ryan here. That barbecue was something, huh? Want to grab a coffee this week? I think we've got a few notes to compare." Her reply came almost instantly. "I'd like that. When and where?" We met at a quiet, out-of-the-way coffee shop halfway between our offices. The awkwardness from the picnic was gone, replaced by a shared, grim focus. We weren't there to vent or cry, we were there to fact-check. "All right," I began, flipping open a small notebook I'd brought like some kind of detective. "Last month, on the 15th, Lauren told me she had to fly to Boston for a last-minute pitch meeting, overnight flight, back the next morning. Julia shook her head. Not possible. Ethan told me he was off on a solo fishing trip that same weekend. Even sent me a picture of the fish he caught. Let me guess, I said, stock photo of a rainbow trout? Her eyes widened. How did you know? Because Lauren sent me a shot of the Boston skyline from her hotel window, one I later found on a travel blog. We went on like that for over an hour, methodically dismantling their cover stories. The supposed late nights at the office? Expensive dinners. The business trips? Weekend getaways. The team-building events? Concerts and winery tours. They'd built an entire side life together, funded by our trust and fueled by their ability to feed us parallel lies. Then came the personal betrayals. Julia told me about a gold bracelet that had belonged to her grandmother, a family heirloom gone missing months ago. She'd been crushed, thinking it was lost forever. My stomach twisted as I described the bracelet Ethan had given Lauren for her birthday, which she'd claimed to have found in a vintage store. It was the same piece. He hadn't just cheated, he'd stolen. That was the breaking point for me. This wasn't about an office buddy anymore. It was about character, or the lack of it. So what now? Julia asked. Her voice was steady, her expression set with the same cold anger I felt. We don't go to them one-on-one, I said. If we do, they'll twist it, lie, make us doubt each other. They've been a team in deception. So we become a team in truth. She tilted her head. Meaning? A joint meeting. Both of them. Both of us. No yelling, no theatrics, just the facts. A professional, performance review. The setup was easier than I expected. I told Lauren my insecurities were hurting us and suggested we meet with Ethan and Julia to clear the air, prove we could all be mature adults. She loved the idea, thinking it was a victory for her narrative. Probably pictured herself posting some quote like love means helping your partner overcome their fears. She talked Ethan into it. We booked a quiet restaurant with a private room. Julia and I arrived first. We sat waiting. Lauren and Ethan strolled in, laughing together. The moment they saw us, side by side, waiting, the laughter died. The swagger vanished. Their faces shifted to stunned recognition. They'd walked right into it. We didn't raise our voices. We didn't accuse. We just started presenting the facts. May 15th, I began evenly. Lauren, you told me you were in Boston. Ethan, you told Julia you were in Maine. In reality, you were both at the Aspen Grand. We had the receipts, literally. Julia took the next point. June 3rd, you told me you were stuck in a late-night strategy meeting. In reality, she continued, you were at a Coldplay concert. Section 104, Row B. A friend of mine spotted you and sent me a photo. We kept trading turns, walking them through the timeline of their affair with cold, surgical precision. We covered the fake alibis, the stolen bracelet, every contradiction. With each fact we laid out, the color drained a little more from their faces. They tried to cut in, deny, distract, shift blame. This is crazy, Lauren snapped. You've been spying on us. That's an invasion of privacy. No, Julia said, her voice sharp and steady. This is an invasion of trust. Privacy is for people who aren't lying to their partners. You gave that up. When we finished, the room fell silent. There was nothing left for them to argue. We'd stripped their story down to bare wires, and none of them were alive anymore. I stood. I'd say this review is complete, I said evenly. And my conclusion is that this partnership is dissolved, effective immediately. Julia rose too. Agreed, she said, her eyes locked on Ethan with pure contempt. Pack your things. You're out by tomorrow. Then we did what they least expected, we walked out together. We left them sitting there in the wreckage they'd built, like employees who had just received the harshest evaluation of their careers. What followed was chaos, but it was theirs to handle, not ours. Lauren flooded my phone with a barrage of messages, apologies tangled with accusations and declarations of love. I treated them all as background noise. Ethan, from what I heard, tried to patch things up with Julia, but she filed for divorce the very next day. Lauren and Ethan gave their relationship a shot, of course. They'd set fire to their lives for it, might as well try to justify the damage. But word through mutual acquaintances was that it tanked spectacularly. Without the thrill of sneaking around, without the stability we'd unknowingly provided, they discovered they had little in common beyond being good at lying. The office marriage collapsed under the weight of real life. They split within 6 months. Julia and I stayed friends. We were tied together by the strange, exhausting experience of tearing down our own relationships from across a coffee shop table. We helped each other navigate the practical fallout, moving, paperwork, logistics. Romance was never on the table. That would have been messy, predictable. We were just two people who'd helped each other get free. Teammates. About a year later, I sat in my new apartment, a space that was wholly my own, and felt a calm I hadn't known I was missing. My life made sense again. It was steady. It was mine. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't insecure. I was simply a man who'd been handed a problem, a glitch in the system, and I'd done what I do best, collected the evidence, found the error, and rewritten the code. The solution had been simple. Remove the corrupted lines causing the crash.